This wheel and graying clay has been Matthew Huell's office, well, his entire life.
Well, I think it's very important. It's part of our history, and at some point in time, it's going to be lost if something don't change.
The Huell family started making hand-turned pottery in the North Georgia mountains more than 170 years ago. Business has been struggling, and earlier this year, Huell had to shut down for weeks as the pandemic took hold.
But it stops all income and outgoing products, which stops all the money. It's just like you took a water spigot and you cut the water off.
Dust has cast a sepia tint over everything in reach. And every day he works alone and in silence, cranking out as many as 100 of these 3-gallon jars a day. But when times are tough, he knows people can do without new flower pots, no matter how well they are made.
Yeah, well, it's not a necessity. It's not, you ain't got to have it. So it's not important. So you'll cut off the things that's least important. That goes first.
Every piece of pottery you see in this warehouse was handmade by Matthew Huell. Time was the warehouse was busy with 11 full-time potters. But that was back in the late 90s during the glory days. COVID-19 is just the latest economic slap in the face to this industry that has really been on a downward turn the past couple of decades.
The kiln used to burn perhaps twice a day to harden all the pottery. Now it might go 10 days without firing.
Yeah, when I was growing up, it looked like there was no end in sight. But now the end looks a whole lot closer.
Vendors used to take his product to the big box retail stores by the truckload. Now it's a pallet or two that head out to tiny boutique shops like Mill Creek Pottery in Columbia, South Carolina.
So we love this pottery. We love its unique style.
It's not just the bread and butter business the COVID economic downturn threatens. The Huell family moved from Edgefield, South Carolina to Gillsville, Georgia back in 1850 and brought a southern folk art to this region with them.
Probably come out of Africa into the United States, more than likely. But even the Indians put stuff on their pottery sometimes.
This is what the finished product looks like, a face jug, a skill he learned from his father and grandfather, and more than likely picked up from slaves brought to the southern United States.
Back in 1800, the rumor is that some of the people thought that when somebody would pass, that this thing had some kind of powers, and they would use it to break the chain of death, and they would put it on graves and different things.
While slaves may have used them as grave markers, face jugs served a different purpose for whites, especially during Prohibition.
People would take and put their liquor in it to try to keep their kids out of it, to scare them away.
Controversial to some, face jugs have been in most of the top museums in the United States, including the Smithsonian. And look online. The handiwork is valued and valuable.
Well, we might call him Henry.
Again, Huell learned how to mix the ash, clay, and water to make the glaze for the face jugs from his father and grandfather. And while he has a son who is a talented potter, his son decided to be a welder. More job security.
My way. I ain't gonna say there won't be pottery being produced, but the level and the way that we've done it will cease to exist.
Before you start thinking he is a rustic Willie Loman and we are witnessing death of a potter, Huell is determined to succeed his own way. And that means he has not and will not apply for any federal relief funds to offset the ills of COVID-19.
I don't particularly like that idea. I understand why they've done it, and I think in certain cases it is a good thing.
But you'll pull yourself up by your bootstraps and move on.
I hope so. Can make a wall pot out of it.
Huell says a well-made pot will last a lifetime. The pandemic won't last forever, but it may drag on long enough to do away with a way of life. Sean Caleb's CGTN, Gillsville, Georgia.